I have a small weather window which may allow me to paint the side case. Now this, I ran the soda blaster over to remove the paint and some of the roughness that was in it, left over from years of just sat in a barn or something. So the soda blaster has smoothed the surface up quite nicely, and left it in a position where I think a very light rub down with a bit of fine wet and dry, a really good clean. I mean, we can paint that, I think. However, I've been umming and ahhing whether to just go ahead and paint it as is. That is, it still has the clutch lifter plate in there, still has the speedo drive in there, and it still has the clutch arm on there. I'm going to have a look at the parts diagram. I have got a oil seal, which I don't know whether it goes on the speedo drive or whether it goes on the clutch lifter arm. If it goes on the clutch, I'll take it out and change that as a matter of course. If it goes on the speedo drive, I'm going to leave it the hell alone. Okay, I got to looking at this system, this assembly in general, and I was worried that I wouldn't be able to get this tachometer drive out of here, but with some very gentle prising of the screwdriver under the very bottom of the drive, it looks like I'm getting some movement on it, and I think the only thing that holds it in is the oil seal that I may have mentioned earlier. Otherwise there's no other way of prying it out of there other than applying a little bit of force from the bottom. If this is the case, then it should ultimately just push the seal out with it. I'm using no force whatsoever on this, because the danger is you end up breaking something. It does give me a good opportunity to clean the whole case. Should. Now we're now at the point where I've got no leverage left. But I was able to push it now. Excellent. So there we go. And speedo drive. And there's the oil seal. And actually, by the feel of it, there's a little bush in there as well. I may have to consult the manual on that. The shaft coming through with the lever in the downward position and the cam underneath it. We've got the spring on this part of the shaft. The spring rests on top of this arm and is curved round under against the case. We've got a thrust washer and we've got a split pin which is on the end of the shaft. So I'm going to attempt to take that to bits and see how we get on. With the clutch lifter plate, there is an adjuster at the back here. I'm unfamiliar with this type of adjuster, so I'm going to count the turns as I take it apart just so that I know how many there are. I think I have to wind this in or push it. Right, self-dismantles. Okay, so I wasn't expecting that because it clearly shows I don't know what I'm doing. So as it's come out, there is, on the back of here, there's this adjuster which I'm not going to play with, I'm going to leave that as is. There's this mechanism here, there's a rubber O-ring. On the outside there's this washer. Then there's this nut. Okay, so for reassembly purposes that's the way it goes. Make sure the nut and the washer are on the outside, otherwise you'll get into trouble. There we go, every day's a school day. The next part of the operation is to remove this shaft. There's a split pin on the back of the clutch, which is a little bit awkward to get to, I'll be honest. One split pin. Then we have a washer. It's sort of domed towards the outside. And then, theoretically, this whole shaft should just work its way out. The cam is loose on the shaft, And orientation again, just to note, at the moment the shaft is pointing upwards, but the cam is with the flat face facing me. So as it comes out, that is the orientation. Drop it in like that with the arm up. These notes are for me, by the way. Ah, that's interesting. Right, okay, so I retract this further, and the spring should be the next item that comes off. Oh, there we go. The spring's off. Orientation is that way, like a snail. And then the shaft that came out is here, and there is an O-ring here, which is curious because that definitely doesn't come as part of the gasket set either. Excellent. So now that that is actually disassembled, and it wasn't too difficult, that is going to make my life easier going forward. It means I can thoroughly wash and degrease everything prior to painting the outside of the case. So it'll just give me a good run at it. I'll just have to remember to mark certain points like the oil filler, the what is that, gear change, the adjuster, all the orifices that I don't want paint to go into I need to block up first. But first things first, I think a petrol bath. And actually I'm glad I pulled this out because there is all sorts of sort of grit in there still, even though this has had a wash. I think a lot of that's come out the speedo drive. So yeah, so cleaning and more cleaning. I got halfway through cleaning this and the rain has started. So I'm going to carry on and clean the part. I've washed it out with petrol to get rid of any of the loose contaminants. I then washed it with water, a bit of wet and dry on the outside of the case to smooth down any rough points. Now I'm cleaning it with general thinners, and as you can see it is still removing oily residue from the surface. Then I'm going to tape it up, mask it, and then when we next get a dry day, give it once more over with the degreaser and then a blast with some paint. But it's a bit annoying because it wasn't supposed to start raining until midday today, but it showed little sunny patches, and instead all it's done is drizzle. But that's Britain for you. Right, she's been degreased, she's masked underneath, and all the orifices that I don't want paint to get into are masked. So all I need now is some dry weather and we're good to go. This is my makeshift spray booth indoors because the weather is so terrible, and I've got my two covers which are just air drying up on top there. They currently look amazing. I'm just hoping they don't sag at all while they're drying. This is the brand of paint that I used on the cases. It's come recommended by two people independently, so yeah, I thought it'd be worth a go. It's heat resistant up to 150 degrees, and the product code on it is 04093, and it goes by the colour of aluminium. It came from eBay, it was about £9. I think the reason it was recommended to me was that two people have said that this actually very closely matches Honda's original paint colour on their cases, and being heat resistant, obviously it's ideal. The covers have had their second coat of paint now. I'm just waiting for those to air dry, and then hopefully it'll be a case of giving them a quick oven bake for half an hour at 90 degrees C, and that should cure them off, although I'm tempted to leave them for a good few hours before I get anywhere near the oven. What's for dinner tonight, you ask? Well, roast engine cases. Freshly out the oven. They've been in there for about 35 minutes at 100 degrees C, or just a smidge below, and they're looking amazing. I'm not going to touch them just in case they are still a little bit soft. I know they're hot, so yeah, so hopefully if they retain that sheen level, they look pretty darn factory. So yeah, pleased with that. Very good.